Okay, guys. So I'll just we were talking about last time at HADRS, and we're going for another very critical lab, which is VSAN. And I've been concentrating on labs a lot because the more practically you do these all labs, the more confident you are in the interviews. Obviously, I could have gone for theoretical path as well and less labs and more theory, but that doesn't really, uh, solve the issue of getting the job. So whoever gets the job quicker, we need to go that way. But obviously, that way it requires very hard work. Those who have done it, few of them are actually enjoying very good jobs right now. And a few of them who were totally new to the field, just sheer hard work put them in 8 months to 1.5 year to a good job, which is a very good time for a new person. I mean, the only difference is hard work. So I'm going to go ahead and so we talked about HADRS, FT, very, very critical features, and you should be like before any interview, and also put these guys, put it these in your or just try to change a little. Just put VCP and VMware skills, and in the skills, just put these in your resume as well. And or just message me on WhatsApp, and I'll try to send you some sample resume and try to just whatever you've learned from different courses, put them in proper areas there, so recruiters could find your resume sooner and could contact you. The more opportunities of interview you get, I mean, first interview, second interview, third interview. When I arrived in Canada 2011, so after 20 interviews, I got the first interview I got the job in Bank. So that was the 21st interview, and all other interviews were perfect. This interview, I was so down and outright and blunt, and well, I got the job. I know. So anyway, put these skills and whatever you learned before in your resume as well in a properly worded way. But recruiters will search in their databases for HA skills. Clients would want recruiters to search for those who knows distributed resource scheduler, high availability, fault tolerance, and many features, distributed switch, standard switch. So put that in your resume as wording, so your resume could be searched successfully in the recruiter databases. Obviously, you have to upload the resume in their databases. So try to upload in 5 new companies your resume every day once your resume is ready after this program. Be aggressive. They should know you're in the market. So I'm just gonna go ahead and quickly go for this is kind of a big one. VSAN is a much bigger lab, and in the market now, VCP 8 has arrived. We are on VCP 7. So you don't have to really worry about it because it's new, first of all. Second thing, adoptability rate would be in 6 months to 1 year, maybe 1.5 year, market or companies will start moving towards VCP 8. Till then, it's VCP 6, 6.7. Majority of the companies would have moved to 7.0, which we are doing. But other than that, VCP 8 adoptability will start. But once you know all these features, obviously VCP 8 is not going to remove any of the major features, but some improvements are always there. So you should be able to then know that what are the differences. We can also discuss them, or I'll send you the documentation of differences between 7 and 8. So I'll just quickly go ahead and we will talk about now VSAN and why VSAN is so popular, and how it saved millions of dollars for the companies, and hence the VSAN was adopted by so many companies. In fact, some companies are doing business on the concept of VSAN, right? So, yeah. Oh,
Sorry, sir.
okay, no problem. So, yeah,
Sorry.
you're saying?
Sorry, after the class, right? Are we still going to have access to this? The recordings on the Blackboard for like how long? Because I don't have the laptop to continue with. Like my laptop is just like 8 gig, so I couldn't continue with the labs. But I intend to get
Mhm.
the laptop after the class, run everything, document the process, and if I
Hmm.
should like document do everything end to end, would that be sufficient enough for me to get me a good job?
Uh-huh. So you want access to the video, or how long would the access to the video be? That's the question.
That's the question.
So guys, okay. Well, I was gonna, in order to have maybe forever access to those videos, obviously, from this Humber, as long as your account is there, you will have access. But I create those videos, so obviously I can put it somewhere else as well. It's my videos or college videos, but obviously I also have that access. And so what I can do is have I'm putting it in WhatsApp now to access these class videos. You may create a free account in my LMS. LMS is what? Learning Management System. Uh, and let me know what email you used. And I will enroll you to this course videos. Um, Access equals forever, and as long as the LMS exists. So, yeah, so that's the link there. Yeah, now you will have access as long as LMS lives on the internet. Okay, let's go ahead. And yeah, so I was talking about the vSAN, that why it's a huge deal or big deal that LMS, oops, did I say LMS? vSAN has saved so much money, and so much adoptability rate is there, or a high adoptability rate. Now, what is vSAN, and then how it is done. So, guys, some of the smaller, there are so many topics for which there are smaller videos as well. I'm going to be sharing all the smaller topic videos there for VMware as well. But these were many of the major topics, or most critical ones, that were perfect for the job, that are necessary for the job. Those are those topics. But I'll be sharing all the other details with you as well, so you could properly prepare for the exam. And when you're giving the exam, let me know. I will help you with some more tips as well. So whenever you are ready for the exam for VMware. So yeah, I'm always available on WhatsApp, and I'm in touch with many of the previous batches, many of the students there, and whenever they need help, I try my best to help. So yeah, that's what I'm offering to you as well. So I'm going to go for vSAN. What is vSAN? It's virtual SAN, and the concept is so simple but so effective. Uh, Main thing is vSAN objective. Okay, purpose. Purpose of vSAN is to provide small to medium size companies the SAN, storage area network, right? SAN solution that is not expensive, right? And provides highly available storage. Main purpose of vSAN is that, as I mentioned before as well, and at the start of the course as well, that companies, medium to large size companies, or mainly large size companies, would purchase the SAN solution, and that would be like, obviously, thousands of dollars, or possibly millions of dollars. So imagine you are having this, and that's in a uh, small picture. Suppose you have 20 of those, and each one is suppose nowadays maybe 1 terabyte disk, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte. So you can already count if it's all 1 terabyte. So how many terabytes of storage a company has? And suppose a company has these kind of towers, maybe 50 of these type of towers. So it could be exabyte, terabyte of data storage that the companies have. But obviously, and this storage comes in with high cost. I mean, not only it's you're just purchasing this, but then you have to purchase the equipment that carries the data for you. So you have to go for fiber optic equipment, right? And fiber optic equipment, not only the wires, but the switches. I may have shown that before as well, but this is the time to actually show it. So there's a fiber optic switch, there is fiber optic cables, there is fiber optic network cards that you have to purchase, the whole equipment that carries the data, uh, you know, carries the data perfectly. Like fast and secure way, mainly fast and then securely carry the data from the SAN tower with help of fiber optic equipment, or this is also called fabric, uh, to the hypervisors. So that would be 100,000, 500,000, a million even, or even more than that kind of investment would be needed when it comes down to this. Okay, so there's a question in. Okay, sure. It's Nasir. Sure, Nasir. Don't worry about that. If you'll let me listen. Okay. Uh, sure. Okay. Well, I'll enable that for you for tomorrow, maybe, or tonight, tomorrow. I'll let you know. Okay. Now, what we were talking about is that this equipment is expensive, and medium to large size companies, no, not medium, small to medium sized companies, and mainly small companies would not be able to afford that. So, but they would want to have a highly available storage. So, is that what it provides? Yes. So this storage is highly available. It's really, providing securely and in a speedy way. All the data is carried over the network to all the hypervisors. And suppose there's one disk that is crashed there, so there is another disk that would take over right away. If you have learned about RAID 0, not 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 10, right? And RAID 6. So those are, RAID is just that if RAID 1 is just two disks are there. If one goes down, the other one will keep the show running. RAID 5 is from minimum 3 to 32 disks are there. If one disk goes down, it keeps the show running still. RAID 6 or RAID 10 can also have pairs of many disks, and even 3 or 4 from disks from each pair, like different pairs goes down. It keeps still the OS and application running. Those are high availability solutions that are built into these. Obviously, when you're spending 100,000 or $200,000, they're gonna have that solution built into. So your storage will be highly available. You will not have a data loss. Obviously, not every company can afford put $100,000 or $500,000 just on the SAN solution and the fiber optic connectivity from there to the hypervisor. So in that case, you have to have certain, kind of low cost solution that still provides secure and high availability storage. Right? So the storage needs to be secure and highly available. If we go ahead, I'll show you a slide from another. Yeah. Um, hmm. So Now this is extraordinary drawing. Just okay. So this mess. No, no. Okay. So this diagram actually shows that okay, there is that the sand solution, the expensive one. The sand solution, the sand disks or LUNs or shared disks over the network are going from over the network and connecting to hypervisor 1, hypervisor 2, hypervisor 3, hypervisor 4, or hypervisor 200, right? So the thing is that this is the SAN solution. If it goes down, there's another tower that it fails over to. If one disk goes down, there's another disk that fails over to. If fiber optic cable goes down, there is another cable that it switch over to. So there's always a redundancy with an expensive solution. There gotta be, otherwise, why would somebody invest and they don't have redundancy, right, on every level? So if we, uh, check the so this is for the expensive or companies with huge budget available, and they can invest heavily on highly available, secure, and highly available redundant storage, right? But what about the small companies? They can't afford that, but they need to have a VMware virtual environment that has highly available storage. So what do they do? So then the vSAN solution was introduced, and in that, what really they offered is that minimum you must have three hypervisors. Minimum. Okay, so I'll just copy this, and because I need to further draw on top of this, and in the drawing, all right. So what we need to do is now, okay, here these are all hypervisors, and minimum three hypervisors are required. Now, VMware said that, hey, small companies, we can provide you a highly available storage solution with your existing resources. The companies would say, okay, how? So VMware says, hey, don't you have a lot of disks that you have purchased? The SSD disks, when you purchase a server, suppose it's IBM or HP or any other, then the thing is that you would purchase certain number of disks, right? So maybe 10 disks, maybe 20, maybe 30 disks, right? So because they're physical disks and they are locally attached to those physical servers. Now, VMware says, hey, don't you have those 16, 20 disks there? And okay, so what do we do? VMware says then, why don't you combine the local disks of minimum three hypervisors, and then create one full data store. So I use the green color here. One vSAN data store. Why don't you create a vSAN data store comprising of the local SSD disks of minimum three hypervisors? So this one big data store will be created on minimum three hypervisors local disks, and it can tolerate the loss of this data store can tolerate the loss of one hypervisor. If one hypervisor goes down, still the data store will be available with all the virtual machines having their virtual disks. So suppose these are virtual machines, and they have their virtual disks here, right? Virtual disk, virtual disk. So they are using the virtual disks here, and virtual disks and obviously all the critical data is on the virtual disks. So um, so all the critical data is on virtual disk, and that virtual disk, obviously it needs to have that data store, vSAN data store, up and running. If vSAN data store is not available, the virtual disks of all the virtual machines of three hypervisors will go down. So this means end users, maybe 500 users connected here to these two machines, 2,000 users connected here, and 5,000 users connected here. They all will be disconnected if the whole data store goes down. Now, once you create a data store on the local disks of three hypervisors, Then you start creating virtual machines of the data store. Now it's a big one, right? And it's comprising of the local disk of three. Suppose this is 1 terabyte disk. This is 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, 1 terabyte, right? So 6 terabytes. Suppose we have two, three 1 terabyte disks available from each hypervisor. So it's already a combined 6 terabyte, right? So it's a 6 terabyte data store, vSAN data store. Then you start creating virtual machines. Virtual machines loads on the RAM of this hypervisor, but its virtual disk is on this vSAN data store, and this vSAN data store is comprising of the local disk as well. The benefit is that first of all, it is using the combined space, so it can offer a lot of storage. Second benefit is that it can tolerate the loss of one hypervisor and still be able to keep on running. So what happens here is that if one hypervisor goes down, so it was offering 2 terabytes disk space. So if it goes down, the 2 terabyte disk space obviously will not be available because the space was being contributed from the local disks of that hypervisor. When the hypervisor physically goes down, the physical disks are also not available. But uh, instead of 6 terabyte, will then still be able to offer 4 terabytes. Second thing is, if the hypervisor goes down, there is that HA solution still available. An HA solution would simply restart the virtual machines in the other surviving hypervisors. So you have a highly available storage. You have a lot of storage from the existing disks that you already have, and you might not be even using those, right? Or if you have, maybe you have spares there, but they are just sitting there waiting for any disk to go down, maybe for last 1 2 years. You've not been using the 1 terabyte disks. What to do? Now you know the solution. Oh, so I can actually use local disk to create a one big data store comprising of minimum three hypervisors. And not only that, I have a combined big data store, so a lot of storage available. It's highly available storage as well. And if any one of the hypervisor goes down, virtual machines will start on the other hypervisor, while the virtual machines of the surviving hypervisors will still keep on running, even if one of the contributing storage contributing hypervisor goes down. But if two hypervisor go down, that's a so then if you have, suppose there were 20 hypervisors there, right? So maybe you've created the virtual machine, critical virtual machines partner, secondary backup virtual machines through the feature of FT, fault tolerance, on other hypervisors. So obviously it's going to fail over to that. But if two hypervisors go down, the whole vSAN data store goes down, right? And those virtual machines will survive only which had FT, fault tolerant partners on the other hypervisors. But that's the thing with it, right? That it's a low cost solution, and whatever you already have disks. Small companies already have purchased a lot of disks, and storage is so cheap. Like 1 terabyte, 2 terabyte SSD, you can purchase. Small companies can easily afford that. So in that case, they can actually do this. And so they can create vSAN data store, they can have a lot of space, and they can tolerate the loss of one hypervisor and still keep the virtual machines running. And even the crashed hypervisors, the virtual machines would be restarted thanks to HA on the other surviving hypervisor as long as one hypervisor is down. Okay? That's the vSAN solution for small companies that helps them save thousands of dollars. And obviously, big companies are also doing that because they would want to use whatever technology is available, and that saves the money. Right? Now, this vSAN solution is so popular that there's a company called Nutanix. They're pretty famous among big companies, and their data centers, they are really uh, available there. In Nutanix, physical servers are available there, and uh, this vSAN solution overall is known as HCI, or hyper converged infrastructure, HCI solution. So it is considered as HCI solution, or hyper-converged infrastructure. Hypergrid, Nutanix, there are several companies which are doing business only on the basis of that concept, and they say, okay, purchase our physical servers, and you don't have to purchase SAN solution. We have already built in vSAN data store available, and minimum purchase 2 or 3 or 10 physical servers from them. Okay, so this is the purpose that we discussed, that it's low cost and it's a highly available storage solution, and comprising of your existing storage. So you don't have to invest. Uh, you don't have to invest any further, or you can just purchase disks, which any business can afford. The storage prices are so low. Now, now we understand the purpose, that okay, it's a low cost solution, and it's highly available as well. So how do we really implement that? So for that, and I was saying that before as well, that one of the labs would actually require 3 hypervisors. Yes, we have 3 hypervisors, but 3 separate hypervisors from the VCSA hosting hypervisor. So that will be the 5th machine that we're going to introduce in our environment. So obviously, this means even the 32 GB RAM might be not enough. So I would try to go through the whole configuration and reach to that level where vSAN data store gets created successfully. And after that, obviously, there are many other configurations there. And it does actually try to detect underlying physical hardware, which we obviously don't have in a nested virtualized environment. So it's not vSAN data store will not be able to detect of VMware certified physical hardware or physical storage underlying. So it's going to give a few errors there as well. But how to set up the whole environment, this is what I'm going to show you here. For that, we have to plan, obviously. So create a third host, add 2 disks, 300 each, 300 GB each on all 3 hosts, give 6 GB memory to all 3 hosts, and third host it to, that's pretty New English. So add third host to it, and then create VM kernel ports on all 3, configure vSAN. So okay, now in English. So what we're going to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. So T-shoot, I always put the T-shoot there just to remember that, not to forget anything. Adding new host, please give it minimum of 6 GB for vSAN requirement. All hosts must be 6 GB minimum. 8 GB, good. 6 GB, have to. So try to choose vSAN storage policy when creating VM on top of vSAN data store that you have just created to test it. Make sure the lockdown mode is off. Yeah, way back we were troubleshooting. I was troubleshooting. Hey, why is vSAN not getting created? Because there was lockdown mode enabled on all hypervisors, which is actually supposed to be enabled. You can temporarily take it down just to install vSAN. Do the worm update on third. So there are some updates as well. Worm is VMware Update Manager. Now it is this is also known as patching solution. So I'll be sending video for that, so you can also do the patching. It's pretty easy and straightforward. So or I will, at the end of the class, I can quickly show you how to do patching. But it just says that if suppose you have 3 hosts here, right? You have updated this host to suppose 7.1.2 version, and these are all on 7.1.0 version, 7.1.0. So if one of the hosts has different updates installed, then vSAN will not work. Either they should be all on 7.1.2, they should be all on 7.1.0. They should all be on same updates level. Right? Otherwise, it's not going to work. So if we, what was I reading? So it works if all three host disks are detected. They will be detected if all hosts are on same update level, patch level. VUM is the old name for updates, VMware Update Manager. Now it does not exist in the newer version. Nothing to do with we have no license. So yeah, way back I had that, hey, we have to have a license to install vSAN, but it was not that because we were still using the trial environment. So uh, things do happen, and sometimes this error pops up as well. So we have to ignore that error if it shows there. But okay, so I'm just gonna connect to the environment and try to show the whole lab quickly. And obviously, we have to plan. Once we go through it, then we understand actually that, oh man, that's so much setup that needs to be done. And VMware. So now we have to introduce a third hypervisor. And that's gonna be tricky, obviously. So I'm just gonna still start the Win01, which is 2 GB RAM. Obviously, RAM is now like gold here in this environment. We have to really use it very, very carefully. So the first server hypervisor is 14 GB. Guys, I have total of 32 GB in this machine, right? Second hypervisor is 6 GB, which is good. Third hypervisor is 6 GB. So 6 times to is 12, and 12 plus 14. 26 plus 2, 28. So 29, 30, 31, 30. Oh man, 4 GB left. Seriously. Um, okay, so if I just add one more hypervisor here, and it has to be 6 GB as well. Otherwise, vSAN might not really cooperate. So I have a total of 4 GB available, but I can still give overcommit. My underlying hardware is a bit less. I'll try to overcommit and give the third hypervisor that I'm about to create 6 GB as well. Many times it works. Okay, it doesn't actually use that much memory, so we assign it, but it may be using 2 GB, 4 GB minimum, not full 6 GB. So that's what we're counting on. Otherwise, I can just simply shut down the SXI1 and reduce the 14 GB to 12 GB. So I could really give the fifth one actually, the 6 GB. Yeah. So was there a question? Oh, guys, can you all mute your mic? I can hear you breathe and talk.
Oh, sorry, Said. I didn't know I was on me. Oh, sorry, Said.
But we heard everything now. Haha.
Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Yeah,
No,
sorry.
just kidding. Okay. So, and the whole $1 million transaction now we have recorded. So you have to share that with us, or just kidding. Okay. So let's go ahead and now. Oh man, what's going on here?
Excuse me, sir. I wanted to ask, what is that VM Fall 22?
Like
What is the VM432?
Yes,
can work out again for me.
we do not have it actually in the. We only have the Win01, EXSI 1, 2, and 3. But on your side, we can see the Fall 22. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so this is the Windows machine that I named it that way.
No. The one up.
This one?
It's just a folder that you have created. Now it's appearing. Okay. No, it's just like a folder. You grouped everything in the.
It's a folder.
Okay.
Like this. Okay.
No, actually, I saw it as a tab.
Huh? Oh, okay.
Yes,
No problem.
if you see after just go to the tab, the horizontal tab. You see it after the.
Yeah. So yeah, these are the machines, and this is just a folder tab. Yeah.
No, on the left, it's well displayed. Look at that is the vertical one, but look at the horizontal. Yes. After the three, you have it also. Yes. So I thought it was
Okay.
IBM
Yeah, it's a
printer.
folder, but its icon is
Yeah.
a little different, but it looks like it's a machine. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Okay. So here, um, I'm just gonna create a diagram that will uh, show us that what is our progress, what is our plan. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a fifth hypervisor now, and that hypervisor has to be also also that's it. So that hypervisor has to be 6 GB, having 2 disks. So I'm going to be explaining all these concepts as well. And yeah, so it's a minimum of 3 hosts. Yeah, minimum of one SSD, one HDD. HDD and SSDs are controllers on vSAN and HCL. HCL is a hardware control compatibility list of VMware. They have their recommended hardware, and then dedicated 1 to 10 GPS uplink or network card should support that kind of bandwidth. Simple port that we will be creating, just like we created for um, uh, vMotion and FT. We're going to be creating VM port for or VM adapter. That too. Now, there's another thing, and there will be more terminology coming your way, so I'm just going to be explaining that. But the three hypervisors can be. There was a requirement there that you can have hard disk drive or HDD and SSD, solid state drive, which is really fast. So one of that and one of these, but this requirement is gone now. So you can have all flash drives and SSD drives, which are faster. HDD doesn't make sense nowadays because it's terribly slow. And second thing, it's the SSDs are so cheap now. NK. So our plan here is at 36i hypervisor. In our case, it would be actually fourth one. And okay, I'll just put it in that other slide. Okay, here. Oh, okay. So okay, so Yogesh in the chat says Dell is the best in everything computers and servers. Yeah. So different companies have different experiences. Some prefer HP, they are just full HP shops. Some prefer Dell, some prefer IBM. Yep.
Professor, I worked in security sites like hospitals, hotels, and so everyone is using Dell. I have like majority
Mhm.
places. Yeah, I have seen Dell.
Okay, that's good. Good to know. Okay. So here at 30 ESXi, so obviously ours will be the fourth ESXi team, and it's a record, just like we created the records of the other three machines. And fourth ESXi would be obviously the naming convention would be the same. If I go back to this, so your first name is ESXi04 dash VCP, but the way we created the DNS name, I'm going to create that way. And add it to vCenter, add memory 6 GB to all three ESXi hosts, which are ESXi 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. And we will port to all three ESXi hosts. We're going to be adding, did it say network cards? No. So add two, um, two more next to ESXi04 to provide the VM kernel adapter for vSAN to separate network cards. And add VM kernel port to all three ESXi hosts. Add VM kernel port to all three port all three ESXi hosts, and add totally two new disks each hosts. If there already is another disk and was used before, then it will not be. So yes, we have to add two new disks to each hosts, which are ESXi 2, 3, 4, right? And now, why two new disks? So if we go back to the diagram, so I'm just gonna grab a clean. No, we don't need a clean one. We need a filled one. Okay, I'll just grab this. Okay, so 500 GB, 500 GB disks are there. That is written on the left side. And okay, now I'm just going to go for a fourth hypervisor. This hypervisor, obviously, just like the other hypervisors, we have given 9 network cards. So obviously, 2 network cards here, just like we were giving vMotion feature, 2 network cards were best practices, just to follow vendor best practices, and 2 network cards for the FT fault tolerance. So we're going to give 2 network cards for this vSAN feature as well. And obviously we're going to be creating a totally new switch there. So if this is the vSwitch 0 that was already there, vSwitch 0. So we're going to be creating vSwitch 1. Actually, vSwitch 1 is already created for vMotion. vSwitch 2 is already created for fault tolerance. We're going to be ending up creating vSwitch 3 here in these two. vSwitch 3 here and vSwitch 1 here. Because that next vSwitch will be 1 for the fourth hypervisor. And this is the fourth hypervisor. So I'll just put the name here as your first name. What's that? So, number maybe ESXi04. I'm gonna go for this, and we also need to add 2 disks, 1 terabyte each, on all those 4 hypervisors. So that's 2 NICs. 2 PHY NICs. Basically, in the production environment, it will be physical NICs. 2 physical NICs and 2 unused disks. We can give it whatever size. We can give it 700 GB. It's thin provision, so it's not going to take any space there. So 2 new unused disks for the sole purpose of adding these disks to the vSAN. For the vSAN, we're going to be adding 2 new, in a production environment, it will be physical disks. So, new, not NICs. Disks. And in a production environment, you will have to just add 2, 10, 20, or you can add and want to give to provide to the vSAN, you can give that number. We're going to be just adding 2 unused disks. So the main emphasis is on unused. If they are used, if there is already a data store created here, vSAN will not be able to automatically detect these disks. It has to be raw, unused, untouched. So and yeah, so all of them must have minimum 6 GB. If you try with lesser RAM, you've seen that vSAN does not actually work. 6 GB. Then also we need to have turn off lockdown mode on all three. Otherwise, it won't let this work. Okay. Turn off lockdown mode as well. 6 GB RAM to all. And then obviously you need to add this machine as a record there. So add a record to DNS of ESXi04. And obviously we need to give some IP. We can just rely on the DHCP IP for this machine. Otherwise, we can give it static IP as well, but we're just going to use it for today. So we can just rely on DHCP IP for this machine as well. Okay, so and then add ESXi4, add ESXi04 to vCenter. Not only vCenter, but also the cluster. So now we know that cluster is so critical, obviously. And in the interview also, they will be asking you a lot of cluster related questions because that's where the VMware main high availability disaster recovery features are. And I'll be sharing a lot of other smaller lab videos with you in LMS where you can just put the account and let me know this is my account, and I'll just enroll you to those VMware courses, all the videos of previous courses as well, and you will have like forever access to that. However, the LMS app is there. Okay. So let's just go ahead and create. But this is the plan. I'm going to be creating. So first of all, I have already started this. I will start only this guy, and I will keep this shut down. Keep shut down for the duration of installation of ESXi4 and its addition to the vCenter. Keep it shut down temporarily for the duration of the installation of ESXi4. So I'm just going to start. I have already started Win01. I'm just going to start this VCSA as well. That's obviously the machine here that's running the whole show. It has the vCenter. So it should be up as well. But let's not have the RAM taken up by ESXi2 and 3 yet. Now we're going to go step by step. So ESXi2 and 3, do they have 6 GB RAM? We know that it has. So do they have 6 GB? Yes, ESXi2 has 6 GB RAM. ESXi3 has 6 GB RAM. Check. Do they have 2 extra network cards? We know that they have 9 extra network cards. So yes, they must have at least 2 free network cards available. So that is also check. Do they have ESXi2 and ESXi3 have 2 unused disks? And we can give the size as whatever we want, but just to have them separate from the size, we can recognize that which disks are going to be, we're making them the disks available for vSAN. So we're just going to give it 700 GB, right? The size. So do we have ESXi2 and 3 have 2 new extra disks with 700 GB? No, we don't have that, right? So I'm going to go back here and I'm going to go to ESXi2. That 6 GB RAM is there. But disk is only 200 GB. One disk is there, and that is having the hypervisor. We need 2 extra disks, which are 700 GB. It could be any other size as well, but just to differentiate from the Mons having 500 GB. So vSAN disks, we're going to give 700 GB size. Okay, so I'm just going to add in ESXi2, 2 new disks, and ESXi3, 2 new disks. First, ESXi2, I'm going to go to Edit Virtual Machine Settings. So these disks will be specifically used for, okay. So it's not going to let me do that unless I shut it down properly. So right click, power Power off is the unsafe way. Otherwise, I can resume, wait for it to be fully started, and then shut down, and wait for it to be fully shut down. Instead, I'm going the bit more time-saving but unsafe way of doing this. So power off, discard. So once it's shut down, I'm gonna go again there to add the two raw disks. Just gonna go inside, click add, shut down already, and the hard disk is on the top, which is automatically selected. I'm just gonna click next. And remember that we were adding NVMe disks because that's what it detects. Create a new virtual disk, and the machine has to be shut down for this. Okay, remember that we tried to give the size, we decided that we're going to give it 700 GB. Next, yep, that's the disk. And finito. 700 GB, and then we click add disk. Next, NVMe, right? Next, and this is 700 GB as well. We don't touch anything else. Next, finito. We got E6i2 has two new 700 GB disks. I'm going to add it to E6i3 and later on E6i4 as well. The vSAN can detect unused disks from minimum 3 hypervisors. Just going to press O and K. And
Technician,
700 GB.
please, when adding the disk, I missed something. So we select the NVMe or we'll leave it as SSD?
NVMe. I'm just going to do the same thing on E6i3. So edit virtual machine, add, hard disk is there. Next, so I'm selecting NVMe. Next, nothing on this page, no change on this page. Next, I'm going to change the size to 700 GB. It's in provision, so it's not going to take size on our disk. Next, and finish. That's it, no change on this page as well. That's the first disk added in E6i3. I'm just going to go for the second disk. Added, disk 2, NVMe 2. No change on this page. Next to size changes to 700 GB on this page, nothing else. And next, so no change on the last page as finito. Now we have two raw unused 700 GB disks available in E6i2 and E6i3. We don't have yet E6i4, which I'm about to create now. So when we do, then we're going to add the two unused disks there as well with the same size. O and K. I'm just going to press O and K here. Okay, so I'm gonna keep these guys off. If I just want to check, yes, two network cards are there, E6i2, two disks are there, E6i2. When they are powered on, then I'm gonna check the lockdown mode as well. And two disks and two network cards are in E6i3 as well. They are both right now temporarily shut down. They both have 6 GB. Okay, so let's go for E6i4 and have those all configurations here as well, and let's properly add it to the vCenter and then to the cluster. So we're going to be adding a fourth hypervisor now. I'm just going to copy the naming convention from one of the hypervisors here, options, and there we go, this, and copy the whole name here, and then I'll go for home button because I need to create a new machine and add the hypervisor here as and well. Create new, next, and it has VCSA mapped We don't need CSA, we need VM visor. Double click visor. Next. There's the name, Control V, name that I copied before from an earlier hypervisor, from one of the hypervisors. I'll just change 3 to 4. Rest remains the same. And yeah, it remains on the C drive. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to confirm the name. Yeah.
okay, cool. So then we go ahead with the next, and well, the local disk size is 200, where the hypervisor will be installed, and that's the same configuration of the other hypervisor as well. So we're going to keep it the same way. It's always good to have consistent configuration across all machines. So it's good to troubleshoot. It's good to update all those. There are different configurations than there always are then issues when we're updating, upgrading anything. Right, next, so just 200 GB. And then I'm going to go for customized hardware because I know that for vSAN, minimum RAM has to be 6 GB, which I will be overcommitting now, 62801, which will was 6.1 GB. O and K. Just gonna click close and finito. All right, so E6i4 is now starting, and yeah, it's gonna eat up all the gain more RAM because 2 and 3 are down now. Its installation should be fast. The rest of the installation is the same, like other hypervisors. Once it's fully started, uh, okay, there we go. So I'll click that, and it's afterward it's keyboard based. So press enter. F11 in laptops is function key and F11 key. Yes, we don't want to make any changes in the disk. Press enter. It's the US default language, English. Root password is small abc, capital ABC, shift 123 without shift 123. Small abc, capital ABC, shift 123 without shift 123. Enter. And then F11, function F11 key again. Do the drill. enter. Okay, it's doing final restart. I need to know the name. Okay, so I need to know the names, DNS names of the other hypervisor. So I'm just going to go to Win01 and go for login here, the class password, and yeah, I wanted to log into the vCenter. While it is logging into the vCenter, I'm going to minimize this and I'm going to go to tools because I need to go to D, N, and S. DNS and why is it showing up this? Didn't install your tools. All right, so in DNS, I want to confirm what is the name of the other hypervisor. So the names of other hypervisors like this. Your first name is 6501 and the IP is this. So we're giving a static IP to this hypervisor. We're gonna keep it to VCP because it's just for today. But obviously we need to know what is the IP that it got from DHCP. Obviously the first one. And hey, do we even have DHCP? I think we configured DHCP. So if I go, yeah, DHCP is there. Okay. So we go DHCP, double click that, IPv4, double click that, then scope, double click that, then address pool. We have a DHCP range of 50 up to 100. So it should get the IP 50. Oh, it's some other range. Why it is getting this IP, which is not even in our DHCP range, because our DHCP range is 200.50 up to 200.100. You're getting 10.133, right? The last two octets. So this is because it's not on the same VMnet as the other hypervisors. Others are on VMnet 15. They're all on VMnet 15. So this guy is not on the same network, so the DHCP cannot give it IP. It's on NAT. Okay, so I need to put it on the same VMnet as other hypervisors. And do this. So it should be getting an IPA. Either have to restart or I'll just go for F2 and then refresh the screen again, maybe. So function key F2 and otherwise I will have to restart. So if you get an IP from DHCP, our DHCP that is, it still has that IP here, which I don't want it to have. Oh yeah, we can just restart the management network, right? This one here. If it gets a wrong IP and you want to refresh the whole network settings, then F11. Go for a break now. Yogesh is saying, can we go for a break? What? Hey, I just started. It's the new IP. Right, now we got the correct IP. Route 50. So once we got it, so Yogesh, if one more student says yes, break, or one more student says no break, or I don't know, because I'm really in the middle of it, but if nobody says anything, then yeah. Okay, so Arifur says if you want. Uh-huh. So there are two now asking for break. So yeah, 7:43 up to 8 o'clock or 8:03. Okay. So yeah, now while this is we're gonna be configuring. So till 8:03, let us have a break. Break and pausing. Right. So let's continue. Re-encoding is going on. All right. So we have already done some of this work here, and if I go to the lab here, right now, it has it got the IP, but we need to add this to the DNS. Add the name, add two more nicks to E654, add its name and IP to DNS, and add it to vCenter cluster and cluster, obviously, slash cluster. So okay, I'm gonna just select that function key F2 0.23. I'm gonna go inside, and obviously the lockdown mode initially is always disabled, but later we can enable it when we are adding this host to the vCenter. And if we go back, so we need to do some IP res related changes here, name related changes, enter. So go inside, there's only one physical network card here, and no VLAN, IPv4, we got it from DHCP temporarily for today only. We are getting it from DHCP, otherwise it's always recommended to have your own static IP address. Okay, so if we go down here, IPv6, no, we're not using that. DNS configuration, we go up, yes, it has the correct DNS server address, but the host name is not correct. And host name is what we saw in the DNS. So I'm just gonna check that host name spellings again in the DNS. Here's your first name, E6501 is the name and the IP. Okay. So if I go back here, I need to change the DNS configuration by going inside and then change the host name. Your first name is E6504. Enter. Yes, I want to change the settings below. I'm just gonna go down. DNS address is okay. That's where the DNS is, but the host name is not okay. So your first name is E6504. So this is the spelling that I need to remember. And I'm just gonna press enter here to save this configuration. I'll check the suffix as well. It is supposed to have our domain suffix, your first name home.local, but it also has the wrong one, local domain. I'm just gonna go inside and remove this and just keep this here. So press enter, and from here I'm gonna start pressing backspace, backspace, and then I'll go for enter. Now if I double check on the right side, yep, ESXI0. Okay. And if I go to IPv4, the gateway is correct, the IP is okay. So I just need to save all this configuration. So I'm just gonna press escape once, and then I'll be pressing yes here. That's why on the keyboard. So now the configuration is saved here. I need to create an A record for this name and IP. So I'm going to the DNS server, and just like the other names, I'm just going to create a record for this E6504 as well. So right click here, and go to new host A record. And just like the previous hypervisor's name and IP information, I'm just going to give the correct name and IP information of this hypervisor as well, which is your first name, ESXi04. Obviously, it has to be exactly the same name and IP information, the spellings. And then 192.168.200.50. Temporarily, this is IP. Yes, it's going to create a pointer record in the reverse lookup zone as well here automatically. So I'm just going to click add host. That's it. No more change other than the name and IP. Add host. Yes, successfully. Okay. And done. It's there as well. So this means that we can access this hypervisor by name. So when you make a DNS change, you have to go to the DNS server name and refresh just a few million times. Okay, we don't need DNS anymore. I'm just gonna close this. We don't need DHCP as well. Well, actually, I can show you one more thing here. That address keys in the DHCP. So it does show that someone got the address keys. So that's the Windows machine, but the 50 IP address our hypervisor got. So this is the address keys information in the DHCP that some machine got the information. So I'm just gonna refresh it also. Maybe the name appears automatically or not. Address keys, no, not yet. Okay. Anyway, we know that it's the hypervisor who got the IP address 50. I'm gonna close this. And now I need to log into the vCenter. It's kind of ready. Administrator add vSphere.local and obviously got to show 123.1.3. Excuse me. And then we are going to log in. Okay, so it does detect that ESXi 2 and 3 are not up and running. Is correct because we intentionally shut them down. Add now the fourth hypervisor. So I'm just going to go to the data center level in order to add another host. So I'm going to right click on the DC and add host. So here I need the host name of the IP, so of the hypervisor. So I'm just going to go and I'll feel lazy here. I'm going to go to DNS and I'll go to for lookup zone. I'll go to the your first name hunt.local and I'll go for name here. I'll double click that. So I'll grab this fully qualified domain name from here because this is so we're gonna access the hypervisor remotely from within the vCenter with this fully qualified domain name. So just wanted to make sure that I don't spell mistake. I'm gonna go back here. I copied it and I'm gonna paste it here like Aziz. So that's the full name here, and I'm going to click next. Now it's asking, okay, what's the username password? We know that. Root is the username and the password is a class password. Click next. I'm just going to press yes that this is the one hypervisor that we want to add to the vCenter. Next. Yes, it's the evaluation version for 60 days. And It is recommended to have the lockdown mode enabled so nobody could connect to this hypervisor from a browser, only from the vCenter. But right now I'm not enabling that because even if I enable that, I have to still disable it when configuring the vSAN. So better not to enable that right now. We can always enable it anytime later as well. I'm gonna click next without clicking normal. Just keep it on disabled and next. And discovered virtual machine in the data center. So these are some of the virtual machines that the data center is saying that we have. So yeah, good to know. And next, nothing to do here. And yes, so we're gonna only add this fourth host hypervisor to the vCenter now. It's 80% done, 20% done. Completed. So once this is added to the data center, obviously in order for it to become a member of the vSAN, it has to be joined to the cluster. But before that, now we need to check its full hardware. So if we compare it with the diagram here, so it is supposed to have 2 disks, 700 GB each, and 2 network cards as well. So does it have that? So we know that it has 6 GB RAM. We know that its lockdown mode is turned off. Does it have 2 disks and 2 network cards? So we're going to confirm that. Then we'll add it to the cluster. If I go there, right click and go to the settings to check the hardware. So no, it doesn't have 2 disks and it doesn't have 2 extra network cards. Now first add the 2 disks as we did before, but in fact, I need to shut it down to add the NVMe disks. So I am going to shut it down, add the 2 disks, 700 GB each for vSAN and 2 network cards as well. And so for that, I'm just going to power it off, shut down, shut down. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to go to edit virtual machine settings, and I'm going to be adding the 2 disks. Add hard disk. So that's the same pretty much procedure that we did before for the 2 other hypervisors. NVMe, next, nothing on the disk. Yes, it's great new. And 700 GB as well. We'll change to the last page. Nito. I'll go for the other one. Hard disk, next. NVMe, next. Yeah, great neutral disk, 700 GB, next. Finish. Also, I'm going to be adding 2 network cards as well. Network adapter, finish, but it has to be on VMware 15 for it to communicate with other cards. So, yep, it's on VMware 15. I need to add one more. I'm adding 2 because I need to add the feature of vSAN with separate 2 network cards and a separate standard switch. Network adapter here. Okay. So we're gonna press O and K here. So 200 GB, 700 GB here, and 2 disks, 2 network cards added. So we're kind of good now. And I'm gonna power on this hypervisor, and also I need to power on the other 2 hyper and ZERS as well. Once it is fully added, now I'm just going to go for the hypervisor. It should, for the vCenter, it should detect it. Yep, it detects it. That's the right way. Yep.
After the reboot, I got the first line again with the 192 instead of the host name.
Oh, so you added it with the with IP or
No,
hostname or the full
I
name?
added it with host name, but I changed the host name on the ESXi and I added it to the vCenter. That works. But now after the reboot, you can see that I have. If you go back to yours, you will see the first line. I have to the EXSI. EXSI. Yeah. Yes, that first line. Yes.
So did you
Only
give the
that.
name, or maybe you exited in a way that it did not save? You have to go inside and put the name again and press enter once and then press escape once to save it. So if instead of enter you press escape, then it did not save anything. That could be the issue, that the name, you can go inside and check that if the name shows inside but not outside. If it shows inside, you're already okay. Then you don't need to do anything. If it doesn't show inside in the name place where it was supposed to be, where we changed it, then yeah, then you have to do that again. Have to give the name again and save it properly.
So should I select that DNS? I should select with the space, the second option, right? Change it.
Yeah, so if
Use the
I go
following.
inside F2, let's go inside and you can follow. So here, you have to go inside configure management network. Here, you have to go inside IPv4 configuration. And oh, sorry, DNS, yeah. And in the DNS, do you see on the right side name? This time you were seeing it.
No.
Okay. It was not saved correctly, even if you change it. So just go inside, press the space bar here on the second one, and then go down here. The name again, and then press enter. So once you put the name, then press enter. Once you have pressed enter, then you should be here outside.
Yeah.
And just check the suffix as well, if the suffix is okay.
The suffix is, I changed it already, yeah.
Okay. So now press escape once and press the Y button on the keyboard.
Yeah, I missed that part, yeah.
Okay. So it should work now. Okay. So let us so I was saying that here it has detected, vCenter or has detected that it's ESXi4 is successfully added it. When I once drag it on top of the cluster to add it to the cluster, then there's HA, DRS, FT features are all enabled, especially HA features. The HA feature will try to push its HA agents to the hypervisor, the new hypervisor that is being added. So obviously that is something that we want. So I'm just gonna drag this third hypervisor and drop it on top of the cluster as soon as it gets dropped. So know that it's going to have the HA agents deployed remotely. So it says that it's gonna get rid of all the resource pools. We don't have resource pools on this newly added hypervisor, so we don't care. We're just gonna press OK. And once it is added, so we know the drill that the HA will try to install its agents. It's saying that installing vSphere HA agent on this. So hopefully it is able to install the agents. Once it has successfully added this hypervisor to the cluster and HA agents are successfully installed, then I will start one by one the other two hypervisors as well. So once, yeah, now it seems like HA agent waiting for cluster election to complete. So cluster election happens when the host has to be chosen either as a slave or a master. We talked about that before as well. So I'm just going to go to the A6i2 and start this. I'm just going to go to 6i2 here and simply power it on. And I'll go for A6i3 and power this one on as well. And yeah, so waiting for them to be detected. And then there will be internal election happening between the host, and one of them will be automatically selected as a master and the other one automatically selected as slave, right? So okay. So once they are detected, they're still starting. While they are powering on, I'll just go ahead and check the diagram here. So once they are here and detected, so I'll just go to the objectives, which are these. So yep, two disks have been added. All hypervisors have to be up and running. So we have to add the VM kernel port to all three hypervisors, and this VM kernel port will uh, prepare the hypervisors for the vSAN feature. Right? So that's what we know we want now. So that would be this one. Now this was done before that, right? So I'll just put it here and add virtual port to all three E6i hosts. This is what we need to do, and then we're gonna enable vSAN. So I'm going to go back here and hoping that those two hypervisors are detected properly. They're still starting, that's why they're not yet there. Once, so if I go to 6i2, yes, it's nearly started, and that is nearly started as well. Okay. So it's all about how the, oh, that's very good. So the red errors are gone, but it's copying virtual machine configuration. So yeah, VCLS is still starting, which means the cluster services running virtual machines with just 1 GB RAM are starting. Actually, not 1 GB, 0.5 GB RAM, half GB RAM. Starting, that's gonna run the cluster services. Yeah, copy virtual machine configuration seems like it's okay now. So we're kind of ready here. And one more thing is, oh, okay. So it's still going on. You can see that it's pretty comprehensive operations in the background keeps running. And the VCLS machines that are responsible for in the cluster, virtual cluster machines, so they're still powering on the new virtual machine. Okay. So I think all the progress is kind of done. So, guys, one more thing is that the fault tolerance in the last lab that we did is still enabled, which is something we do not need now. So I'm going to be disabling the fault tolerance. And how do I know fault tolerance is enabled? Because the icon is dark blue. That's the icon for the fault tolerant virtual machine. It's living on E6i2 right now. If I go to E6i3, I think there was a secondary or primary was there. So if the virtual machine shows up, okay, all virtual machines are here on E6i2. Just gonna make sure that I right click here and go to fault tolerance and turn it off. I don't want any surprises for vSAN, but I want just the vSAN to be smoothly configured. So anything that might be in the way
So,
need to be disabled. Yeah.
excuse me, should I switch off or power off the VM before disabling that? Because last time you asked.
Yeah, powered on. So yeah, power off that VM. Um, okay. So now I'm ready to actually enable the vSAN in the cluster because I have the 3 hypervisors with the 2 unused disks each. And well, I have to do one more thing. Obviously, that's the most critical one. Add VM kernel port that will prepare the hypervisors to take part in the vSAN. So I need to add VM kernel port. VM kernel ports normally, VM kernel ports normally have their own static IP addresses or DHCP IP addresses that can be assigned to them. So I'll just go back here and first I'm going to go to E6i2. I'll be configuring the VM kernel adapter here. E6i2, then 3, and then 4. So E6i2, I'm going to go to configure. And we know where to add the VM kernel adapters. We have added it for vMotion, then we have added it for fault tolerance. I'm going to add the VM kernel adapter for vSAN. So I'm just going to click the VM kernel adapters. We can also see that for vMotion, the 2 hypervisors took part in it. So we gave the static IPs of 5 and 6 for vMotion for the 2 hypervisors. Then we went for FT. 2 hypervisors took part in the fault tolerance as well. So that is 7 and 8 we used. Now it's 3 hypervisors that we're using, and we need 3 static IP addresses. So 7 and 8 was this, but 10 is already taken by the gateway. So we can go for 11, 12, 13 as the next IP addresses that we can give for this configuration. So I'm just going to add the VM kernel router on 6i2, then I will add it to the 3, then I'll add it to 4. This will prepare 3 hypervisors to take part in the vSAN configuration. So I'm going to go to add networking for E6i2 here in the VM kernel routers. And yep, so that's this networking. I'm just going to click next for the VM kernel network adapter. And as we went for the vendor best practice, because we are able to implement that, which is to just create a new switch with its 2 dedicated network adapters, right? So that is once we select that, I'm going to click next here, and obviously we have added 9 network adapters to the 6i2 and 3, so at least 2 should be there. If I go click plus sign, green plus sign, yes, we have 2 network adapters free available. So I'm just going to select the low one as well and press O and K. And then I'm going to click next. And then I'm going to go for vSAN, select. So vSAN, name vSAN, and the service vSAN selected here. IPv4 is okay, no VLAN, DU, no change, default TCP/IP stack. So that's good. vSAN, next. Now it's asking for IP address. We can get from VCP as well. We'll just go for this static IP, although it's still just for today. 200.11 we decided. App 255.255.255.0. So the next one would be 212 and the other 213. 211 next, and then I'll click finito. Um, so here, once this is done, I'm going to go for vSAN here is configured. I'm going to go for 6i3 and pretty much do the same thing. Then 6i4 and pretty much the same thing. So 6i3, add networking. Yes, it's the VM kernel network adapter. Next, we're going for the vendor best practices. Otherwise, we can go for existing switch with existing 2 network cards as well. But we're going to go for new standard switch because we have extra network cards available. Plus sign, yes, it also have 2 network cards available. Okay, next. And then we can just give it the same name, vSAN, and we can select the vSAN feature as and well. Next. And then we go for IPv6 settings, and it's going to be 212, right? So 192.168.200.12, 255.255.255.0. Next. And finito. Okay. And once this is created, then we're going to go for ESXi 04, pretty much doing the same thing. So internal router 6i4 next. Use and switch. We know the drill now. Next. So the adapters that we added were the two. Remember that for ESXi 2 and 3, the adapters network cards were 6 and 7. Here, network cards 1 and 2. So that does not really matter. So the numbers could be different as well. But as long as we have two free network cards available to be attached to the standard switch, it is okay. I'm just going to press OK here and click Next. vSAN here. Next. And then use static IPv4 settings 192.168.200.13. 255.255.255.0. We're configuring that and next. And then we click Fini and go. So okay. So now if we go ahead and check the next steps. So the VM kernel adapter has been added, which means the hypervisors are ready for the configuration of the vSAN, right? So this means that hypervisors will be triggered for the vSAN. What they're gonna do is it will try to detect the unused disks of the hypervisors taking part in, well, actually not taking part in the vSAN process, hypervisors in the cluster. So suppose there are 64 hypervisors in the cluster, right? And half of them have one or two, maybe 5 or 10 unused disks. So whichever hypervisor in the cluster has unused disk, it's going to automatically detect that, right? So we have 3 hypervisors and we made sure that they have unused disks. So it check them. So I'm just going to go inside and now I'm going to go to the cluster level. And I'm going to go down to the vSAN cluster. So it's written here. I click the vSAN cluster here. It says that licensing data is not available. Only clusters with enabled vSAN require licensing. Okay, but that's not it. Oh, sorry, it's a below one, the bottom one. vSAN here, the services, right? vSAN services. So it is vSAN is turned off. Obviously, we're going to try to configure it. So I'm just going to click configure. Single site cluster with custom fault domains, 2-node vSAN cluster, stretched cluster. It does say that, hey, if you want to enable cluster temporarily, it doesn't say temporarily, but it says turn off vSphere HA to turn on or off vSAN. So which means it says that obviously temporarily you have to turn off HA in order to enable vSAN. So we're going to go ahead only when we have temporarily disabled HA in order to configure vSAN. Okay? So before I click next, I have to actually cancel and turn off HA. But before that, let's just try to discuss this single site cluster and a single site cluster with custom fault domain. So what is this single site cluster? Each host is considered to reside in its own fault domain. So what is a fault domain? That's what the diagram I was telling before that I'm gonna show, and so that's a diagram here. I'll just put it in the rest. So what is this? So fault domain. We're talking about fault domain here. Now, fault domain, before that, we're going to talk about this is rack, right? In a data center, these are lines and lines, long lines of racks after racks that are available in the data center. So if I go ahead with the data center AWS, suppose, and so you can see that that these are the racks, one rack, second rack, third rack, fourth rack, and each rack has either blade servers or rack servers available there. So those are all the racks that are having the server. So when we talk about racks, then we mean these all racks here, right? So racks and servers or switches or lots of switches. So huge data centers with the thousands and thousands and thousands of physical servers. Now this is that rack with the rack server 1 here, rack server 2 here, rack server 3 here, or maybe 10 rack servers here, or 20 rack servers here, 20 rack servers. So the point here is that now if there's one rack and it has one power source here, power source, which is actually UPS or uninterrupted power supply, and there's that network source, right? So if each rack has one power source and one network source, then that is single point of failure, right? SCOF, you can say, right? Well, it is called SCOF. So SCOF, or single point of failure. Single point of failure means that if the UPS, the only power source, not redundant power source, but just one power source goes down, whole rack goes down. If one switch, that is the only switch that is connected to this rack, goes down, the network of all the rack servers inside this rack go down as well. So if that's the condition, then this is one fault domain, right? FD. So this is one fault domain, and this is the second fault domain, right? So fault domain 1 and fault domain 2 just means that if we create a virtual machine in FD1, its partner virtual machine will be automatically created in FD2, fault domain 2. So fault domain 1 has an active virtual machine and its passive partner is in fault domain 2. And you can now know the actual purpose of that, that why there's a, just like the fault tolerance feature we tested with primary and secondary virtual machines. So this fault domain, if one fault domain is gone, then the other rack virtual machines will all automatically become, instead of passive, they will become active virtual machines, right? Active, 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 active. If that if spot happens, single part of failure happens, which is either the UPS goes and the whole power to the whole rack goes and all servers goes and all virtual machines are down. So the services of the virtual machine quickly fade over to the second fault domain, which is where the secondary machine or passive or backup machines were there, and they will become the new active virtual machine. So it says here that each host is considered to reside in its own fault domain. So that's what it's saying. We're saying yes, that's what we want to go for, say, single site cluster. And then there is single site cluster with custom fault domains, single site cluster with custom defined fault domains without a witness host. So now that is also another setting, another type of setting that I can annotate here. So if you have a cluster or vSAN here, so vSAN configured vSAN 1, which is 3 virtual machines right here. And then there's another within the same environment, maybe you have another vSAN 2, and it also has its 3 virtual machines. So there is there can be a witness machine here as well, and that is the witness machine does one thing. It's witness. Yes. So witness machine, its task is keep an eye on vSAN 1, the active one, and the passive one, and in case the active one goes down, the passive one, the witness machine actually wakes up this passive one. Hey, this is the active one, suppose, and this is the passive one. So it then wakes up the passive one. Hey, you're the new active one now because the active one current active one went down, and you're the new active one. So the witness machine's job is to keep an eye on the availability of redundancy, and if redundancy is not there, then it wakes up the other vSAN. Okay, so now you were copying everything till the last second. Now you're the one active one, and all clients will connect to you. So there's that single cluster with custom fault domains there as well. Without a witness. So this is saying that you can create that with witness or without a witness. So this is mainly without a witness. The next one that is coming actually is with a witness. So, but I'm first explaining the whole process of what witness really does. But they say that yes, they're gonna detect, or the passive vSAN will detect if the active vSAN is down without a witness. So in that case, we know how witness does, but without a witness, you can also configure one, because you still need another resource to become a witness or to install the witness software there. To keep on sending heartbeats. Witness keeps on sending heartbeats. So it says that the active passive will keep sending heartbeats to each other, and if active is not there, passive will then become the new active. So then there is 2-node vSAN cluster, 2 hosts at one site and a witness host at another site. Now it says there's a witness host that will be there. So so 2 hosts in one site. So suppose there is a Toronto branch here, and then there are 2 hosts here that are actually part of the vSAN. So suppose there are 2 servers. We have 3 servers, right? Suppose there are 2 servers, and they are part of the vSAN. So the other one, then suppose there's another site in maybe North York and or Hamilton or Mississauga here, and that other site actually has the machine that is the witness host, right? So it will keep on sending heartbeats to the 2 hosts, and it would be obviously over the WAN because it's another site altogether. And then it will inform if the active and the passive. So active host is down, then passive will become the active. Now this is still a vSAN, so it's not it's going to be still vSAN 1, vSAN 2, because vSAN can be created with the minimum 3. But here they say that, oh, you want to go for two node vSAN, so you can also have a two node vSAN where it will be active vSAN with two nodes and passive vSAN with two nodes, and there's a witness host on the other side sending heartbeats to the active and then waking up the passive if active vSAN actually goes down. There is a stretch cluster, then that says two active data sites and a witness host at a third site again. So this means that it's even bigger than the other one, and that would be that you have one site in suppose Toronto and the other site in Mississauga and third site in Hamilton. So these are not very far to each other. They're really part of the Greater Toronto Area, GTA. So there will be one host that is here, witness, and then there will be vSAN here in Toronto site and vSAN here in Hamilton in Mississauga site. And the witness host from the third site is sending heartbeats to both, and it's checking that as long as the active site is up, it's okay. When active site is not up, it goes down. Then it wakes up the passive site that you were the active, but it's on just a larger scale. The third stretched cluster. So I'll just take a screenshot of it. And okay. And also the other diagram screenshot, because that really explains the whole diagram well. Lab. So and yeah, the third one, single point of failure, that's the explanation of. Okay, so once we go there, now before we click next, obviously we need to make sure that we need to turn off HA and then come back here and select keep the first option selected and click next. So I'm just going to cancel out from here, and we're going to well, it is since I canceled it, so obviously it's off already. So I'm just going to go to tool cluster where I am already, and in the configure, and then go way up there, and there's the availability service. So I'm just going to go there. It is HA services both are on, so I'm going to turn them off. So click edit. Obviously that's temporary, but then the HA starts removing its agents from each hypervisor, and now you don't have that security of peace of mind of that if the hypervisor goes down, then the virtual machines will be automatically restarted to the other host. Well, that is temporary because we are deploying vSAN. So I'm just going to go to the next one and turn this one off as well and click save. And then whatever activity keeps going there, we can wait for it to finish, or it is, I guess, already finished. So I'm just going to go back here down in the same column to the vSAN. Okay, so I'm just going to start again. Configure. single site cluster. I'm just going to click next. Now it lets us go ahead because HA is down and temporarily, obviously. And then it offers certain services here. So space efficiency here. Do you want this storage to have compression enabled, which just compresses the data to save more space? In the process, it does slow down the storage, but if you want more space available, so whenever the data is placed there, it compresses it as well, which takes more reads and writes of the, which makes it overall as a slow process to read and write the data. Then it's also saying that, hey, you want to go for compression, or do you want to go for deduplication and compression? So deduplication is that if your data is, so suppose you have a disk here, and in the disk you have you know data file d1 file here, and that data file is in a folder F2 here as well. It's exactly the same data file. And then there's a folder. So this is on the root, this file, and the same file is here as well. Suppose it's .txt. And here also it's exactly the same file .txt. And then in folder 3, there's also same exact data1 file .txt. So that is folder 2, folder 3, and now deduplication, if you enable that, then it checks that, okay, this file, its texture, its internal properties are exactly the same as in the file in folder 2 and folder 3 as well. So what it does is that it just simply deletes the other two files, and the first file that it discovered, it's going to give the shortcut of this file on the deleted files place. So this means that deleted file will still show the name d1.txt, but actual file will not exist here. And whoever double clicks, suppose in folder 3, that file, so it's going to actually be a shortcut to the actual file that is in the root of that drive. So this means that this huge space can be saved, because from time to time we keep saving data and sometimes it gets duplicated. So exact duplicated data with high confidence that the deduplication service will check that it's fully confident that this is exactly the same file, then it will delete that and the shortcut to the actual file. So somebody clicks the shortcut, it will still open that same file. But in the process, deduplication saves a lot of space because of the duplicated data being deleted continuously. So deduplication, you want to enable that. That's a very good service. I think this is available in your computers as well. So you can always check and enable that feature in Windows. I'll just put that in the slide. So data at rest encryption. So other than compression and deduplication, do you want to also encrypt the data? And data in transit. So data at rest, which is just the data that is placed there and is infrequently being used. It's just sitting there in the disk. You want to encrypt that, and then data that is on the move, that is being transferred over the network in transit. Do you want to encrypt that data as well? And change its keys every day for encryption and decryption. And then large scale cluster support. Do you want to have that? So this just says that by default, vCN cluster can only grow up to 32 hypervisors. Nodes just means hypervisor. But by setting this option, vCN cluster is allowed to grow up to large scale at maximum to 64 hypervisors. We have just 3 hypervisors, right? But you can grow up to 32 without selecting this option, and after selecting this option, it can even accommodate more, and it goes up to 64 nodes. Please be noted, if this option is changed before cluster configuration, it can be applied at host side immediately, but if it is changed on later, all hosts are required to reboot to apply this change. So if the hosts were already added, then and then you implement this change, so it's going to require all the hosts to restart. So restarting a hypervisor is always a pain in the neck, because like you have a lot of virtual machines started, and maybe hundreds or thousands of users are connected to those virtual machines in just one hypervisor. So restarting would be a big deal, but yeah, you have to just know that if you want to have it on large scale, then make sure that you're ready for it, and do it on the weekends when the end users are not connected to the virtual machines that are being hosted by the physical server. I'm going to click next here. Now it's the time to select all the disks on this page. Unclaimed storage is 4 terabyte, it says here. So I'm just going to change that disk model size to, so what I'm saying is that show me all the 3 hosts or hypervisors which are going to be which have any disks. So I'm just clicking the host, then it shows me the hosts, and then it says you want to claim. So it says do not claim, but obviously I want to claim. Now detects ESXi2 detects 2 disks, ESXi3 detects 2 disks, and ESXi4 detects 2 disks, because it can only detect unused disks. Obviously there is a third disk, but that is formatted with VMFS, and it has a data store already created on that. Okay. So so that's how it is. I'm gonna go ahead and claim the disks for the vSAN. So what do I need to do for that? Now it says that, hey, is your disk a flash disk, which means SSD, which means it is fast, or is your disk for the HDD? Suppose we only have SSD disks, because nowadays you might not find HDDs there. They're hard disk drive, which are very slow. So but if this cluster requires no, you must have at least one HDD and as many SSDs as you want. So then you can mark that as another disk as HDD, one disk as flash, one disk as HDD, just to fulfill the requirements. Now, why would cluster or a vSAN want you to select a slow disk and a fast disk? Okay, fast disk we understand. It says that, hey, whatever data is infrequently being used is just sitting there for a long time, and people not using it much. So we're going to put that data on the slow disk. Whichever files or data is frequently being used, we put on the faster disk. That's why it needs 2 types of disks. But we can also try that if we say that both disks are flash, does it accept our configuration or not? Instead of claiming one disk as slow HDD and the other has as fast flash disk. So first disk, I'm saying yes, it is a flash disk. And then there's a capacity tier, cache tier, vSAN direct. So capacity tier means that, oh, it's just for capacity. It's just for data at rest that is infrequently being used. So are you going to use that disk for this? Or are you going to go cache the data? Caching just means that you're saving the data for fast access. So that is called caching the data. So is that disk going to be used for frequently used data, or cache tier and vSAN direct? It's just normal data usage whenever you want fast data, access, it gives that, and whenever you want slow just data to be there, it just gives that to you. Don't have to separately select for slow data, right? So now suppose I say, hey, it's going to be cached here. This means that um, this is a fast disk, and we're going to be putting here that type of data that's going to be frequently accessed. If I go for the next disk, and it does say that, hey, you want to claim it as a slow disk or the fast disk. Suppose I'm just experimenting. If I just select the other one as slow, it's going to just not give me this here, claiming issues. But let me just select temporarily just to test that. What if I say that this is also flash disk and this is also cached here? Now, suppose I go for all three, then it's going to give me the final verdict here that is this whole configuration which I selected is correct or incorrect. So I'm going to quickly keep it on flash, and I'm going to go for, hey, they're all frequently accessed data. They're all going to be frequently, these disks will all have frequently accessed data. So does vSAN actually considers this as a correct configuration? I selected all disks as this flash, 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 and it says nope. I don't think we're going to be accepting that. Right? So now if I go for the second one, hey, okay, this will be slow disk, marking the selected disk as HDD resets their claiming state to do not claim. To actually mark the selected disk as HDD, they must be selected for claiming by vSAN. Proceed. Okay, I'm just going to no. First, I'm just going to maybe go for cache tier here. Sorry, capacity tier here, and does it let me do that? It will says that this. Okay, so yeah, this error was not coming here, and nor did I ever did that before. What I did just now. So the thing is that yes, I'm gonna go ahead and go for this. Yes, so marked as HDD, and then I'm gonna go for capacity tier. That okay. This means that whatever data you put here, we know that it's going to be infrequently used data. Right? This is just here for archive, long-term backup kind of thing. So if I go down here and do the same thing for the second disk of the second hypervisor, yes, and the second disk of yes, does it say it's okay? Oh, seriously? Are you kidding me? Oh, okay, custom. Oh, this is saying do not claim. I did not change that to capacity tier. And do not claim. I didn't change capacity tier. Oh, now the error is gone. So it says if there's no error, obviously it means that the configuration we did now is acceptable by the vSAN. So one disk frequently accessed data, one disk for cached here, which is frequently accessed data, one disk for frequently accessed data that is just there for long term. So it's going to intelligently save data on the vSAN data store on that corner under which there's a HDD disk, and it's going to just put that data which is infrequently being used or not used at all. So it says that, okay, once you have acceptable configuration, vSAN acceptable configuration, then I'm going to let you go ahead and I'm not going to show that error. It's not showing that error. We're good. And okay, guys, so this is going to be screenshot one. vSAN disk name is a label. Screenshot one, vSAN disk name is the label. So I'll take a screenshot of this. Screenshot one, vSAN disk claim is the name of the label. vSAN disk claim. Okay, so that's the screenshot one. Okay, so I'm going to go back here, and that's the configuration here for disk claim. Also, on the top, there are three hypervisors, or actually that's on the left side. But anyway, yeah, let's just go ahead. Then I'll show later what else to take a screenshot of. So right now the configuration is supposed to be okay, and I'm going to click next from here. And then it shows the whole configuration of the vSAN. So screenshot number 2 would be vSAN configuration. Screenshot number 2 would be vSAN configuration. I'm going to take a screenshot 2. That is vSAN configuration. vSAN configuration. Screenshot 2, vSAN configuration. I'll click finish here. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on here underneath, and it's gonna try to claim disks, and then it's gonna try to detect this, claim disks, configure the disks, and it's gonna try to create a full vSAN data store on the two unused disks of all three hypervisors. It's gonna try to create the full vSAN data store, one data store that's going to be created on the local disks of three hypervisors now. So hopefully everything goes well, because obviously it's not an easy procedure. It's a complicated procedure in the background. If any kind of small step has been misconfigured, or a small mistake happened, then obviously it's going to give you error. So every step has to be taken very carefully.
Have to error one of the update sound configuration, the exercise 2, general system error, then the cluster level, reconfigure vSAN cluster, general system error 2.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. Let it, if there are still some processes going on, let them all finish. Now, vSAN is also kind of like fault tolerance. It's pretty sensitive as well. So it would require recommended VMware recommended hardware underneath, not actual nested virtual disks. So that's why expect some errors, but I want to reach the stage where I could show that, hey, the vSAN data store is created and it looks like this. And the further configurations when you see there, when you will be seeing soon, will actually show that it still requires some underlying hardware detection, and we don't have that hardware. Obviously, it's a training lab, so it's going to give error further. So how to create a vSAN data store, and up to this level where we can at least get to create a vSAN data store, and I could get to show you some of the configurations there as well. That's where we can reach physically. After this, it has to be the actual physical servers where it would just simply keep, successfully getting configured without any errors. Although even in actual physical servers, there could be errors. But so it's a nested virtual environment, so that's why it may not really show the correct configuration. Well, there's some more stuff going on here. If I just go down further, so it's still trying to and then something in the background. Once these are all done and 100% is actually turned into something, then we can go ahead and check out if vSAN data store at least got created, because normally it shows here in the storage area. Well, I do see vSAN data store actually getting created, because name is something that we cannot decide ourselves. It just gives that name, vSAN data store. If you go to the storage area and then you go to the vSAN data store and click that, and then connect to the host area. So it is using the local disk of 3 hosts. Yes, that's what we were aiming to do. Right now, HA state, remember that HA was turned off to create LSOM file system for vSAN disk. We're going to log for more details. So yeah, there's an error here that as actually shows this ls om file system for vSAN disk. When we in previous batches tried to search for that, so it turned out to be that it was trying to look for some hardware, actual hardware, which we don't have. So it was giving that error. But as far as the vSAN data store is concerned, so that's how it looks like. And yes, it is connected to the 3 hosts here. And if you go to some more configurations, if I go to host and cluster section here, this one, yep.
So on my side, I only have 2,
Right.
3.
Okay, so
is it still configuring?
like you don't see 3 servers here. Oh, okay. If you go to the
No, in
storage
the
and then
data store, yeah.
this one, ouch,
Yeah.
that's not good. Because this means that it was not able to detect the 2 unused disks of whichever is missing hypervisor. So either it is off, obviously if it is not off, then the disks were supposed to be unused, or and if they were unused, obviously you create them. Maybe it was not NVMe, or they were not detected successfully, or you did not restart the machine after adding the disks, something like that. So it could not reach the unused disks of that particular hypervisor, so that's why you're seeing 2 here. You have to just restart that hypervisor and try to check the disks again, or run the whole vSAN wizard again that we started from the not the beginning, but just the vSAN itself. Or maybe you restart that missing hypervisor from here, and it might detect those disks. But yeah, VMware is a pretty complicated application, huge, and it does require a lot of prerequisites and some original hardware. So that would be our screenshot 2. vSAN data store created. Screenshot 2. vSAN data store created and connected to 3 hypervisors, but vSAN data store created. Screenshot 2. Oh, actually 3. Screenshot 3. vSAN data store created. Oh, I did not take the screenshot 2. This means that was screenshot 1 and 3. There's screenshot 2 here as well. vSAN configuration. That's screenshot 2. Okay. Well, this is still stuck on 100%, but the thing is that we don't have the actual hardware that it wants to detect. That's why it's gonna show some errors. But as far as the how does the vSAN gets configured, what are the prerequisites, how to configure the prerequisites, and then how does it really look like when it does get created, and proof that it is actually created on the local list of 3 hosts. It is connected to 3 hosts right now. Also, if we go here to Tor cluster and it's still trying to configure, but the services is written there, vSAN services. Turn off vSAN, which means that it is on now. And there's disk management here, and disk management, checking disk versions, and then disk group that it creates. It says unhealthy because obviously these are virtual disks; these are not actual physical disks that it was expecting. And then there are fault domains, and then there is data store sharing. So it says here that right now it was not able to configure the fault domain failures to tolerate. So it cannot tolerate the failure of even one hypervisor because it's not the actual hardware, but we were still able to reach to the stage where we can see actual configurations of vSAN plus how does it really look like when it gets created, and to prove that yes, it was created on the local disk of 3 hypervisors. The only thing is that yeah, these are virtual disks, not physical disks, so it cannot really give you that real environment. Some of the errors will be shown there, but even in real environment, if you follow the same steps, but with the correct hardware, then most probably you won't see these errors. So that's overall the vSAN. In newer versions of vSAN, the requirements have increased. It has become more sensitive. Otherwise, older versions of vSAN, I was able to even create a virtual machine, and then I was able to actually crash one hypervisor and was able to show that virtual machines on the other hypervisor connected to the same vSAN data store were still up and running. So the thing is that is the environment, but still whatever we could do, we were able to do. Oh, what happened here? The errors that were showing. So there's still reconfiguring going on in the background. It keeps on doing that for much longer time. And strangely, the errors that it was showing are not showing anymore, but it might appear again. So it's just a lot of patience is needed to really wait for the whole vSAN to be created. Okay, one more thing here. Well, that was the vSAN. I was also talking about updates. That if you keep the hypervisors on the same update level, patching level, if you want to create vSAN. So updates normally are done. If I go to E6i2 here, suppose that is a totally different topic from vSAN. Just giving you idea that updates are always another section here. And for updates, you need to just create a baseline and implement all the updates inside the baseline to the host. And whatever updates you've implemented here, you go to the A6i3, go to the updates here as well, and then baseline, and then you create a new baseline. So how do you create a new baseline? You just go way down here, and then the attach baseline or baseline group, create an attached baseline. The baseline, it's a collection of updates. So then you implement the baseline on this hypervisor, then updates gets installed. Other thing is that you have to put each hypervisor before the update to the maintenance mode. If it is in the maintenance mode, you install the baseline with all the updates inside. Then it restarts or it doesn't restart if it doesn't have to. The updates are also here, and the baselines are created, and then next. It's pretty much also a next finish kind of configuration. Install updates. So in the background now, it's again appearing with different types of errors. Well, I've told before as well that yes, it's going to give errors because it doesn't find the actual physical compatible hardware underneath. But as this is as far as we go for vSAN data store, just to show you that it does get created and it consists of the underlying hard disk of 3 hypervisors. Okay, guys. So for next week, the quiz will be exactly the same way, whatever we've covered from midterm till now, obviously. So those will be the questions, and then also we'll be doing the marking for them. Also, so exam related information I'll be giving at the end of the exam. So at the end of the exam, you can just connect, or I can give information now as well. Then we just do the exam next week, up to you. Also, yeah, so we don't need that fourth hypervisor after this. That was as far as we go for the vSAN. And I'll be sharing some more smaller labs with you, videos of the smaller lab if you have created an account on my LMS. So you could then cover all the other labs as well for the job as well as for the exam when you're preparing for the exam, because it's multiple choice exam, the international certification one, and our one would also be false from what we covered. So this is vSAN. We can just so I was talking about
Said, so I'd like to ask, what are VLANs engineers? What is their professional title? How do I address them?
special job title for the VMware engineers?
Yeah, VMware professionals, engineers.
Yeah, it's VCP, so it's VMware Certified Professional, or it's VMware Administrator. It's VMware. Normally, the job titles are VMware Administrator, but if you go to Indeed.com, just type VMware. So it's the jobs are all like IT Administrator and network engineer, network administrator. But in the job description, you would see that the person has to know VMware as well. So different companies, there is no one hard and fast rule. Some companies come up with, okay, we need a network engineer. And they also include all the VMware skills because they have VMware environment. Then some company also goes for system administrator. They also have the VMware skills required there. So system administrator, network engineer, network administrator, IT administrator. So they all go with, so mainly how we search? The search with simply typing VMware. I can quickly show you that. So let's
I get
suppose
the
you
gist,
go
right?
for
So
indeed.com. If I go there, and I go for my Scarborough or Etobicoke area, and just type VMware. Then the titles will be a full mixture. Senior system engineer, Anaris needs someone, and obviously VMware has to be there, otherwise this job would not appear there. But we have to dig down and check for VMware where it is.
yeah,
Well,
so I
yeah,
get
but we get the
why
idea.
I asked was that in all our courses, right? It's like VMware seems to be the one that has to do with click and clicks. You don't have to work with the Linux interface. So I was just thinking independently if I was like very good with VMwares, whether I could independently get a job with a VMware expert. But apparently
So
not.
it has to be multiple skills always. So if you're a Linux expert and you know VMware as well, Linux is an operating system. VMware is a full platform on top of which the operating system lives. So these are different areas, and it has to be multiple expertise, multiple skills on which you should be expert. So networking is also separate, operating system level expertise is also separately required, and then the underlying whole platform. That platform will have storage. That platform will have networking. That platform will have OSs with databases and applications on top of that. So pretty much yes, if you're a Linux expert, that's very good. If you've done CCNA, that's very good. If you know the underlying platform, which is VMware, that is very good. And then now the cloud. One cloud you should be expert in either Azure or AWS.
Yeah.
So it's a combination
So
of skills.
obviously
Yeah. Mhm.
combination, right?
Yeah.
Man, too much expectations for an engineer.
It comes with experience. You just, first of all, we try to get into the market, then we start going for better and better jobs. So, yep, every job here is asking, and they're all different titles, but they all require VMware administration. Senior cloud and system administrator. Wow. What's this? Senior cloud. Chef, Ansible. Wow. Automation. Always they require automation. And
Yeah,
yeah,
so
so VMware
it's
and Windows
definitely
servers,
DevOps.
Linux server, Azure. So yeah, if you type Azure and VMware, you will find so many jobs there as well. If you find AWS and VMware, you will find so many jobs there. Oh, system administrator. 100,000 a year on call. 6,000 users, 900 virtual servers. Seriously, 900 virtual servers. Ooh, it's fully packed. Level 3 administrator they need with Superman skills. Okay.
The price is not commensurate with what they are looking for right now.
Yeah, exactly. That's why
I
this
mean,
ad is actually old. They actually called me for
yeah,
this as well. I was in line for the interview, but then I said no. So okay. So there are so many jobs and different titles, but if VMware is there, yeah, whatever they call it, senior system or system engineer or whatever, senior cloud and system, as long as VMware skills are there, yeah, that's what we would be applying for. There's multiple skills, and good luck with all of you. So try to gain as many skills and fill your resume with all those skills, so recruiters could search your resume and call you. And then when you get interview opportunity, that is where knowledge and your practice and repetition of labs will come in. At how do you perform in the interview? Okay? So that's how
yeah.
it is, and it's not that easy,
So one more thing.
definitely.
Yeah,
Mhm.
sorry, please. One more
Yeah.
thing. You promised that you're going to send us samples or resume. I think we'll definitely be interested in it. So we know how to
Yeah, sure.
draft or draft our resumes.
So yeah, I've filled my resume. It's like a mixture of pretty much everything. Whatever I've been doing, Citrix and VMware, AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Exchange, and it keeps on going, keeps on going. So, and networking as well. So I'll just remove my personal things from there. I'll send that resume on this group. So you can just see the skills and you can copy some of the wordings there for what you have in your resume. And if you can format the resume that way as well. So yeah.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I'll just send mine there with after removing all the. And do remind me if I forget. Okay, guys. So see you next week for the first exam, and then oh, thank you. So your first exam, and then 8 o'clock. Maybe first you can hear how to give the exam, and then go ahead, or you want to hear now and just the exam next week's up to you. You want to meet next week, or you just want to give the exam and go home while you're at home. Actually, go to the other room. Anyway, so so exam information that I was supposed to say, um, that will be fine. So no suggestions. So next week we talk about exam. Okay. So then after the exam you will have to stay and then we can meet at 8:30. Or maybe before the exam we can meet. I'll put the exam a little late to you. So maybe first I will just explain everything, or after the exam I can explain for half an hour that you will get the vouchers. Hey, what am I talking about? It's just a small information I can give now. And then next week we just give the exam. Before the exam we can meet for details. Okay, Arif says that. Uh, okay, guys. So upload your files and see you next week for just the exam information. It'll be very brief, and then you give the exam. So before the exam we can meet. I'll delay the exam if I'm late as well. But then after that, yeah, you can give the exam once I give the details of the certification. Okay, guys. So upload it, and obviously before the exam we meet, and after the exam we meet. Oh, that's a big gap, man. There's a big gap between. The information is like, it's a small information. It's not a very big information. Certification.
How long, sir, for exam time, exam duration?
It's the same 2 hours. 8:30,
Okay,
6:30 to 8:30.
Then just would like to know the details about the exam details. That's why I requested for.
Yeah. So
Also, after exam we can meet also. Whatever, I don't know, some other student what their comments.
Whenever the exam information you want. Otherwise, what I can do is 6:15 to 6:40. I can give the certification information. Then at 6:50, exam starts till 8:50. That can also be. Okay, so I'll just put the. Okay. So let me just upload that information up there. Oops, where is that? Oh man. It's week 14. He's stopping the video.